Hello friends, welcome to CEC live lectures. We all know that the world is witnessing a devastating pandemic in the face of COVID-19, which has not only hit leading economies but also taken millions of lives globally. The far-reaching impacts of this have also been witnessed by business organizations. The lockdowns and subsequent strict governmental guidelines of unlocking posed serious implications for employees and employers as well. The organizations are looking for ways to sustain in these times of uncertainty, and employees are boggled about their security and future of their current jobs. The turbulent winds of change are reshaping the way employees are managed and have resulted in a drastic change in the leadership styles in this new era of apprehensions. The new world of work radically transformed in the past 2 years with reorganization of supply chains, remote communications, and online approvals, apart from many organizations moving their jobs from offices to employee homes, which has come to be known as remote working or working from home. This transition was not as easy as it sounds, since there were a number of challenges for employees when they worked remotely or worked from their homes. They faced internet issues, they juggled between digitization and household chores, they were looking after their kids and the elderly parents, etc. And in such complex situations, it was difficult for organizations to retain and engage their employees, missing out on their sustainability and effectiveness. In 2020, the resignation rates across the United States increased due to fear and uncertainty caused by the pandemic. But another aspect of people leaving their jobs was in March 2020, a record 13 million, and in April 2020, 9.3 million employees were laid off in the United States amid global pandemic. And the sectors that were worst hit by the pandemic were the hospitality, tourism, aviation, and mostly the service sector industries. And much of these were driven by women working in service and childcare sectors apart from hospitality and tourism. So as the pandemic continued, the workforce experienced a collective burnout and employees voluntarily left their jobs at an unprecedented rates in 2021. So there were two aspects. One was that the employees were being laid off by the companies, organizations, and the second was that the employees were voluntarily leaving their jobs. Despite high unemployment rate and labor shortages, primarily in the United States, estimates indicate that in total, a huge amount of 75.5 million people in America resigned in the year 2021. This led to an economic trend described as the Great Resignation. So what we are going to learn today in the emerging trends in human resource management is that what is this Great Resignation? What are the causes of Great Resignation? What are the implications of Great Resignation, and how the human resource departments in the organizations can deal with this phase of Great Resignation? So the term Great Resignation was coined by Anthony Klotz, who predicted this mass exodus in May 2021, and it refers to the massive amount of people simply leaving their jobs as we start to exit the worst of the pandemics. In India, however, the situation is not as grim, but still it is a cause for concern. some top IT companies like TCS, Wipro and Infosys had witnessed high attrition rates of around 20 to 25% in the last quarter. Following the Great Resignation, IT and technology sector has started hiring at unprecedented rates, with the top 5 IT companies hiring around 1.7 lakh people in 2021. So you can see there are two aspects of Great Resignation. If we correlate it with the human resource management, so on one side people are resigning, and on the second aspect we can say that those vacancies are being created and new people are being hired. So on one side people are leaving the jobs, creating jobs, creating vacancies for others. So there are two angles to this phase of Great Resignation. And very interestingly, not only are people in the workforce changing jobs, it has been seen that nearly 51% of job seekers, they are looking for opportunities in industries where they have little to no experience. So they want something different, they want something new as far as the work or job is concerned. Now the second aspect that we are going to study is that what are the causes of this phase that is being called as the Great Resignation era or the Great Resignation phase. Though there can be and there are a number of reasons for this mass exodus, but many studies have indicated that the pandemic is the single biggest factor behind the higher attrition rates, not only in West but also in India. So we all know that the pandemic forced many organizations globally to introduce certain changes in the way work was being done. And these changes are to be blamed for high attrition rates, as most employees, especially in the IT sector, they faced collective burnout or exhaustion arising from prolonged emotional and mental stress. So working from home or remote working is not very easy and not very comfortable, though people are working from the comfort of their homes, but still it is not easy to work and manage home. So more employees are quitting their current jobs in search of better job opportunities, not just in terms of salary, but also with respect to new challenges. Most job seekers are looking for new challenges due to the exhaustion and the stagnancy as a result of following a similar working pattern on a daily basis, especially in a work from home setup. So people who were involved in jobs that were monotonous, that were boring and that followed a same working pattern, they were the ones who were mentally exhausted, and they were the ones who wanted to seek new challenges, jobs which were challenging and more meaningful. Also, the employees, while working in remote settings, as I said, they faced many problems. They faced technical glitches, they faced internet issues, they juggled between the digitization, and maintaining a balance between work and life was very difficult because there did not seem to be a separate work and life demarcation. So that line between work and life, it completely blurred. And there was, we generally talk of work-life balance, but in the pandemic phase, what happened was that the work and life, they integrated. So there was no separation between work and life. So people also had gotten used to a certain lifestyle. Because of the working from home scenario, people got to used to a certain lifestyle, and when they were asked to join back or go back to their offices, they sort of forced these people to find new job opportunities or new organizations where they could again work from home, or they could, look out for better opportunities, more challenging work. Then the pandemic also forced the employees to introspect and find their true calling in life. So people who were working from home, they had the time to introspect. And many people, especially in the top management, they left their high profile jobs to pursue their passion for art, music, writing, etc. In many cases, those who worked in sectors that was most impacted by the lockdowns were re-evaluating whether they want to stay in those industries in the long run or not. And they were the ones who were leaving these jobs. Another aspect of or cause of the Great Resignation during the pandemic was that many people, since they got laid off or they got some extra time, so people upskilled and are now looking to move on and develop their careers in some other directions. A recent Irish government study suggests that as many as 20,000 hospitality sector workers, they moved to new jobs after coming off the pandemic unemployment payment. For some, the shift to remote working has realigned their thinking about the working life, and they were assessing their values and commitments through a new lens. So during the lockdown, many organizations were shut for some time. So in that time, people reassessed that what their values and commitments are through a new perspective. And this made them realize that how wasteful commuting to work can be when the excessive costs of living in a city, including housing and childcare, are added to this picture. So people are now questioning how they use their time and if the balance between work and family life is actually worth the stress involved. So is it worth to leave your family for your work? So people are questioning this. And most likely they are getting the answer that they must invest their time in their family instead of work. So that is one of the biggest causes of Great Resignation. So some older workers who were more vulnerable to the COVID infection, they also opted out of work during the pandemic, and they were finding it difficult to get back to a job. Another angle was that the closure of schools and childcare centers too forced some parents, especially the mothers, to stay home to look after their kids. So since the schools were shut down, and if you do not have any support to look after your kids, so it is quite evident that the mothers, they left their jobs, stay home, look after their kids. So this was also one of the reasons of Great Resignation, and more female workers were leaving their jobs. So some other reasons of the Great Resignation apart from the pandemic were studied by MIT Sloan School of Management, and this study highlighted how a toxic culture in workplaces was a major reason why many employees decided to call it quits in 2021. So we all know that organizational culture is an important factor when we talk of employee retention. So contrary to belief that most of these employees quit over salary dissatisfaction, the study indicated that the problem was deeper than it seemed. A survey carried out by the World Economic Forum found that 86% of employees felt people at their organization are not heard fairly or equally. So this fairness and equality is another factor or cause for the Great Resignation. Now let's discuss what has been the impact of this Great Resignation on industries, on people, both the employee and the employer. So in the light of these resignations, the labor market has incentivized companies to offer better benefits and higher salaries, which is very beneficial for the employees. The economists predict that the race to attract top talent will continue, with larger companies who can offer better salaries winning out. So another perspective of Great Resignation is that it is going to be a win-win situation for both the organizations and the employees. The organizations will be getting new people, while the employees will be getting higher salaries. So it is a win-win situation for both the employee and the employer. And a recent report from the Conference Board found that the share of job postings that include a hiring bonus more than doubled between March 2020 and October 2021. So this was another impact of this phase called Great Resignation. And according to a research from WFH project, while higher pay can be a big factor, but people value the flexibility to work from home as much as they would a 10% pay rise. So people today are not interested in higher pays, but they want flexibility in their working schedules. Another major impact of Great Resignation. So consequently, companies across the board are offering employees shorter and more flexible work weeks, with several shifting permanently to work from home. So this was one aspect, that they are permanently shifting the work from home or remote working. Another impact of Great Resignation is that the bleeding workforces or high attrition of workforces have also fueled more automation. And in 2020, the World Economic Forum surveyed 300 global companies and found that a huge 43% of businesses expect to reduce their workforce with new technology. So since people are leaving the jobs, companies are shifting from people to being automated. So as companies struggle to hire in the US, companies are increasingly turning towards automation and outsourcing to combat labor shortages. Now let's discuss the role of human resource in dealing with Great Resignation. So the first step to alleviating the impact of the Great Resignation must be to listen to people's needs. That is most important, and not simply throw money at the problem. So every time a higher paycheck will not solve the problem. You must learn to listen to what your people need, what they desire, what they expect. The pandemic has aggravated collective anxiety. Thus, it is significant to establish a clear strategic narrative of what the truth is. The team leaders must have clarity in whatever they convey to employees, since many things are not clear and confusion prevails in the minds of employees. It is very crucial for leaders to exhibit clarity in their conduct. Employees who are aware of what your expectations are will be more motivated to meet those expectations. This will help in developing a transparent environment. So the managers also need to be flexible and refocus on remote working and be open to new ideas instead of enforcing the regular, rigid working hour schedules. Several reports over the past have shown that while working remotely from home, productivity is better than working in an office setting. So the managers must try and be flexible as far as the working schedules are concerned. On an average, those who work from home work one more day a week and are 47% more productive. In a work week, those who work at home are more consistent, they work more hours and get more work done. And there is lesser absenteeism when they are working from home. But there are many people who also want to get back to the office. They do not somehow like the work from home scenario. So their needs must also be considered. So that is why I said that you must learn to listen to what people want. And it is not necessary that all of your team members want the same thing. So you must identify individual needs as well. So work needs to be tailored to individual as well as the company needs. Whether that's a work from home model or a hybrid model, it will need to be negotiated and probably on a more granular level than having a single one-size-fits-all solution company-wide policy. So now it's time that we start making tailored policies, customized policies, catering to individual needs instead of one size fits all. So the leaders must reckon that a clear and regular communication is a powerful business asset, especially when organizations are grappling with the global pandemic with momentous economic and emotional implications for employees. So communicate with them as frequently as possible. A personal talk with each of your team members can help develop a long-lasting relationship. It can boost up their morale and instill confidence among them. Then cultivate a culture of care by simply inquiring about how your employees are feeling. Express your concern for the safety and well-being of your employees and their families, and let them feel that you value them. And when an employee feels valued, his engagement, his morale, satisfaction, happiness, it all increases. Also, be patient and empathetic towards employees' needs by accepting the new normal. Make your employees realize that you truly are concerned about their welfare and you win their commitment and loyalty. The employees and the employers are somewhat sailing in the same boat of uncertainty and volatility. However, in these testing times, the least the leaders can do is to care with their employees, recognize their contributions, appreciate them for their efforts, acknowledge their role, thank them more often, and assure them of organization's commitment to stay with them in these tough times. With all changes taking place in the workplace, days of top-down management may be ending, and that means there will be more major changes in workplace forcing employers to adapt and meet new challenges in recruiting, hiring, and retaining employees. So friends, today in this part of the lecture we discussed about a very recent emerging trend in the domain of human resource management, that is the Great Resignation, that how the pandemic and the work from home and certain other changes in the world of work has caused mass exodus, people leaving their jobs, moving out from their comfort zones, looking out for more challenging jobs, looking out for their passions, and how this has impacted the entire workforce in the entire organizations and the business scenario. So in the next part we will discuss about another emerging trend in human resource management. Thank you.